Hey everybody, it's the 3D Printing Professor, and in this video I will be telling you a little bit about my experience with Magigoo, the alternative build surface liquid stuff that I'm actually really enjoying. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, you can find out how you can win all of this. Some of the, there's parts. You can win this, and so stay tuned to the end of the video. Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming back. So the Anet E10 I have right here is a 3D printer that comes almost pre-assembled. You have to put a couple of things together. There's a couple of bolts and then all the electronics have to be put together. Now I have not assembled this 3D printer because I don't want to have to take it apart. So for the most part, my opinion of this is based on the reviews of others, and my opinion of this is that it is a solid 3D printer, a solid entry into the line of 3D printers offered by GearBest. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what came in the bag. First of all, there's no printed manual, so be sure when you get this printer to plug this into your USB or the SD card if you've got a micro SD card. The manual will be on here. But I also really enjoy that it comes with a bag of spare parts that are labeled spare parts. That's super cool to me. Most of the time, spare parts are just whatever's left over after you're done building the 3D printer. And I like that they actually have thought ahead and said, yes, we have spare parts. These are them, and you're going to need them. So that's super cool. The negative press that I've seen about this 3D printer, and there is some negative press about it, is mostly that it's not a CR10. But I never thought it was a CR10. I looked at it and read the specs, and it's smaller than a CR10. It's cheaper than a CR10. There is, in my opinion, no reason to confuse this with a CR10. But apparently some people got confused, and that made them a little bit upset. But I'm not upset. I think that this is a solid 3D printer for what it is. And if you take it at what it is another entry into the series of 3D printers that GearBest is offering. And with this array of 3D printers, you really get what you pay for. On the cheapest end, you can get yourself the Anycubic Castle Delta, and it's functional and cheap and not hard to put together, but it's really going to take some tweaking before you get it to run, and I've had lots of problems trying to use my Castle Delta. The Anet E10 is a very solid 3D printer, but it's going to require a lot of your time to put together, and it's going to require a few upgrades before you're going to feel really good about using it on a regular basis. However, I'm really happy with my A8, and in fact, I use it over my old reliable Rep 1 for certain jobs because I just need the solidity that that printer offers after I got the upgrades in place. And then for a little bit more, you can get the E10, which comes almost fully assembled with very little work. You get this assembled and running, and it's a very solid 3D printer for the price. So I like how this fits into the array of 3D printers offered by GearBest, and it slides right in. The price is completely reasonable, especially if you get it with the coupon code that'll be in the description for you. But I did say I was going to talk about Magigoo, and in fact that's the majority of what this video I want to talk about. Magigoo is, if you saw my video about build surfaces, then you'll know that my weapon of choice has been hairspray, because it's cheap, because it's easy to get. However, you do not want to use hairspray if you don't have a removable build plate. You want to be able to take your build plate off, spray it away from your 3D printer and put it back, because you don't want to be taking hairspray and spraying it into the gears and gumming up things on your 3D printer. It's just not good for that. Magigoo, on the other hand, if you have a heated build plate but it's not removable, is a great choice. I've been using this for months now, and I'm super happy with it. Now, I will say that you have two options for applicators, and I say options, they have two options for applicators, and which one you get if you use the link in the description, I can't guarantee which one you will get. It's a little bit difficult to say. The one applicator, the rubber applicator, is the first one that I got, and after I got Magigoo and I used it for a little bit, I contacted my friends at Magigoo, and they said I said to them, listen, I love Magigoo. I love this stuff, but I'm not super impressed with your rubber applicator. It just is kind of hard to use. And they said, yeah, you're right. We agree with you. So they sent me another one to try, which is the spongy applicator. And the spongy applicator works great. The way you use this stuff is you give it a good shake to make sure it's all mixed together. You flip it over and put it down on your build surface, and then give it a gentle squeeze. You don't want to squeeze it too hard because you don't want to be making bubbles, and you spread it out on your build surface. You're not going to be getting a smooth, glassy like coverage with this. The goal is to get complete coverage, not smooth coverage like you do with hairspray. But that's okay. It really doesn't affect print quality if it's not perfectly smooth. Now, if you do get bubbles, let it dry. And while Magigoo is non-toxic, they say it is stinky, so be sure to open a window to let it dry. But once it dries, if you have bubbles on there, all you have to do is just get your fingers wet and rub those bubbles smooth, because Magigoo is water soluble. And that's a really cool thing. This tube of Magigoo I've been using for a couple of months now, and while I was using this tube of Magigoo, I was also using hairspray on another of my 3D printers. And you can see I've gone through maybe a third of the tube of Magigoo. I've gone through 2 containers of hairspray in the same amount of time on my 3D printer. So this stuff does last fairly well. However, I've noticed that occasionally it starts to flake and fall off because it creates this hard surface, and sometimes that hard surface starts popping off. But no problem. Again, it's water soluble, so you can either wash the whole thing off with water or just get your fingers wet, smooth out the corner, and apply a little bit of Magigoo to where it's flaking off, which is what I've been doing. I like this stuff so much that if you have a heated build plate, I do actually highly recommend Magigoo. And I'm not just saying that because they got me a really cool tie, and I really dig when people send me ties. But honestly, I've stopped using hairspray on the one that I even have a removable build plate for, because I just would rather use Magigoo. It does exactly what's advertised. It goes on easy, and when the build plate heats up, it sticks, and when it cools, the prints lift right off really easily. As easily as hairspray, but not as painful to apply as hairspray. This stuff was really made for 3D printing. Now, there is a small downside to Magigoo. That is that it's a little bit more expensive than hairspray. But like I said, it saves you from having to get the expense of making a removable build plate, which is plus and minus. I like having removable build plates for a lot of reasons besides the ability to use hairspray. And it seems to last longer than hairspray. So for me, the little bit of extra expense for Magigoo is honestly worth it. And now that I've been using it for a little while and using it on many different 3D printers, including my Select Minis that I got, and they came with build tack, and the build tack tore, and I ripped it off, and I started using blue tape and glue. I took off the blue tape, I took off the glue, I used a little bit of Goo Gone to clean that thing smooth, and then I put Magigoo on it, and now it works great. I've been using it for all of my 3D printers. I'm a convert. I love Magigoo. I highly recommend it. Now let's talk about the contest and why I'm giving things away. I mean, not that you care, you're just having the chance to get some cool stuff, but the reason I got this, or I'm doing this contest, is because July I hit 10,000 subscribers, and that is all thanks to you guys watching these videos, sharing them with your friends, and subscribing. Thank you guys so much. So here's what I'm gonna do. First place in this contest, all you have to do is go down to the description, find the Gleam.io link, and follow all the instructions in that. First prize will be this Anet E10 3D printer, a tube of Magigoo to use on it, a copy of my book, The Beginner's Guide to the 3D Printing Galaxy, to get you started on it, as well as a copy of Simplify 3D to run on it, and that is all courtesy of my friends at Simplify 3D, Magigoo, GearBest, and myself. Now, second prize, oh, and there will also be a roll of filament, or a sample roll of filament in the package as well, because I've got those and you should have one. The second prize in this will be provided by 3D Printer Chat, who has sponsored you getting a tip-eye 3D printing pen, as well as some sample filaments to print on it. So thank you, 3D Printing Champ, for sponsoring second prize. And if I can add additional prizes, I will let you know about those as they come. So to win all of that, all you have to do is follow the Gleam.io link in the description, which you probably already have, but I thank you guys. If you've watched to this point in the video, you guys are my people, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters who are back here. There's always room for more, so go ahead and back me on Patreon if you can. As always, I thank you guys very much for watching. Remember, safety first. I'll see you next time.